What's up guys, Brad here from Piney Grove, and if you're a regular watcher of the channel, you know that I absolutely love equipment, tractors, excavators, zero turns, and today we are at Cloud Auto Parts in Bonifay, Florida, and we're here to look at a brand of tractor that I've heard a lot about, but I've never actually checked out, sat in, looked at the specs of. So that's what we're gonna do in this video, look at the many models of TYM tractors they have here at Cloud Auto Parts. So I've never owned a TYM tractor, and I'm also not sponsored by TYM, so nobody has told me what to say for this video, but I am friends with a lot of the TYM influencers like Hank Hamilton and Tony out there at Tony's Tractor Adventures. So if you're looking for these tractors in action, check out their channels. But this tractor right here is the 494. So that's a 49 horsepower tractor. And then next to it is the 474. But one thing you may not know about TYM tractors is that they took over the Branson tractor line. And we actually still have a Branson branded tractor here. It has a TYM sticker here, but it still says Branson on the loader. And it also says Branson here on the side cowling. So we got the 494, we have the 474, we have some smaller frame tractors here. And the main reason I'm making this video is to talk about one of their most popular tractors, which is the 2515. But before we get to that, we got to get in the cab of this 75 horsepower tractor, and then also look at the tractor that Hank Hamilton has, but without a cab. So here's the TYM T754 with a cab, and sitting right next to it is the 574, and that's the tractor that Hank has with a cab. You can see it is a good sized tractor, and I'm not going to go over any of the details of these bigger tractors because I want to talk about the 2515 in today's video. But one thing I saw, and it's really neat, and I don't know that I've ever seen this in another tractor. Visibility is a big thing for me on tractors, and this actually has a plexiglass where you can look down into the three-point hitch area, and it keeps all that dust from coming up, but you can still see down in there. So that's a neat feature about this tractor. And I'm sure there's plenty more features to talk about here, but like I said, we want to focus on that 25 horsepower tractor. I'll just quickly climb in the cab of this 754. I don't want to stay in here too long. One, because I don't have the keys to this tractor, so I can't start it up and run the AC. And two, I don't want to get too comfortable being in the cab tractor because I really want one. We're here in North Florida. It's pretty much hot 8 to 9 months out of the year. We have a lot of pollen in the air, obviously a lot of dust when you're brush hogging, and having a cab tractor would be really nice. And we're going to talk about that with the 2515. So stay tuned until the end because I'm going to mention something that might be coming on the 2515. I can't say enough about the people here at Cloud Auto. I talked to Greg here and said, hey, I'd like to shoot some video. He gave me the keys to this 2515, and he said, come after hours when, you know, there's not customers around and stuff. And he goes, just take your time with the tractor and get to know it. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start it up for the first time, and then we're going to go over some things that I like about it, some things that I see. Really like the dashboard. It's really clean. I'm going to just try to get off the seat and see if it stalls. And it didn't, and I love that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Before we get started, you might be wondering, what is all the hype about 25 horsepower tractors? And the hype is that 25 horsepower tractors go back to your original diesel tractor that lasts forever because the government didn't mess with it, interfere with it, and make you put a bunch of emissions on it. You can still make these 25 horsepower tractors the same as your grandfather had, where they don't have a diesel particulate filter on it that robs the engine of its ability to breathe, and they don't have diesel exhaust fluid requirement, so you don't have to have a separate tank for diesel exhaust fluid and add that and have that extra expense and everything that goes along with that. This is just your basic 3-cylinder 25 horsepower engine that could be used in a marine application, a tractor application, a generator. The way it was back in the day, and the reason these are so popular is they're less complicated, they're cheaper, and by putting them on a larger frame and changing your gearing a little bit, you can get a lot of work out of this tractor and keep that reliability that made the old school tractors last for 40 or 50 years. I had heard this was a large frame 25 horsepower tractor, and when I first drove up to it a couple hours ago, I was thinking, That's not a very large frame compact tractor. I have a Kubota L3901. The L series for Kubota kind of defines the large frame compact tractor. So I actually went and measured it, and the specs on this tractor here are just about the same as the Kubota. It's got about 39, 40-inch tall tires in the rear. It's about 9 foot long, not counting the loader. And the workstation or the operator station is about 2 foot off the ground. So it is essentially the same size as a Kubota L series. And that's important to me. If I'm looking at a tractor, I love that size or a little bit bigger because it just gives you a more secure feeling when you're working around, hauling heavy loads, and just comfort features when you're sitting in between the fenders here. You just have more space. It's got the quick attach front bucket or quick attach loader in the front, and the handles work really smooth, very similar to the Kubota. We'll talk about the lift capacity of this because it blows the Kubota away. I look at the way the hydraulic lines are routed, and it's kind of the same thing as the Kubota with steel lines, and then they're covered right here. Now this one does not have a third function, but I'm sure that it can be added because everybody wants a third function nowadays. The grill is very similar. It gives some protection, but it probably needs a grill guard if you're in a lot of brush. It's got kind of a low profile hood so you can see down. This doesn't stick up higher. I really like the way that the bucket level indicator is attached. Rather than just kind of being held on with a hose clamp, it's kind of bent like an L down there and goes into the actual frame of the loader and then sticks up here real high where you can see it. I've seen some that are real low here and you can't tell whether it's in that little detent or not to tell you if your bucket's level. Got some good size R4 tires here. Again, looks very similar in size to the Kubota L series. And I like the way that they've got their front steering here where it's not as vulnerable as other tractors. There's no hydraulic lines or anything here to catch brush, and that's important to me because I do a lot of brush hogging, what I call extreme brush hogging, and this is somewhat protected. Now this cylinder is here on the front instead of the back, and that's what turns this tire. So there is a chance this could get impacted, but that's a pretty heavy duty cylinder there. The hydraulic line is back here where it's more protected. So I think this is a good design. I don't know that I'd call it a perfect design because this can definitely be impacted by a stump, and I'm in that type of environment all the time. I've done several videos about the toolbox on a Kubota, and it is just pitiful what Kubota charges you for a tractor and gives you basically this thimble-sized toolbox that's not in a bad location behind the seat. It's so flimsy, it doesn't hold much, and the closure mechanism just fails. If you put too many wrenches in it, it'll just kind of spread it apart and you'll lose your wrenches, and eventually the plastic breaks on it and it falls off the tractor. TYM is a nice little toolbox here, held on with 4 bolts. It's in a decent location. I actually prefer the toolbox to be back there because that's mainly where I need tools, is when I'm hooking up 3-point hitch equipment. But this isn't bad. Now this being here kind of prevents you from putting a chainsaw holder here, so that's something to keep in mind. This loader looks removable or detachable, and it looks very much like the Kubota where it has the kickstands in the front and you remove a pin back here, and it really looks the same as a Kubota and is probably fairly quick to remove. You got your hydraulic lines over there. You detach them, and I see a real neat feature on those hydraulic lines that I really like is they've color-coded these lines right here, so as you take them apart and put the caps on them, you know where they come back. That's a real neat feature because if you take your loader apart, you don't want to have to figure out how to put the hydraulic lines back together. You just want to take it off, do what you got to do, and when you put it back on, quickly reattach it and get back to loader business. Absolutely love the fuel filler being here. I've talked about this in many of my videos, but Kubota puts the fuel filler right dead center of the hood, and it's hard to get to, and it's hard if you don't have a fuel transfer pump to hold up a 5-gallon can above that. TYM has put it right here. You could lean your fuel can here on the workstation or the operator station and pour your fuel in. And I don't think I'm concerned so much that brush or anything will impact and mess up your fuel tank. Plastics nowadays are really strong, And I just don't see that this is a problem with the fuel tank being here. The exhaust is in the same place as the Kubota. And just look at the steel on this. I didn't measure the Kubota steel, but I'm pretty sure it's not this thick. I bet that's pushing 1 inch thick steel that's coming off the frame of that tractor to hold this loader. And there's the pins right there you would pull out, and the loader would come out of this little carriage right here. Okay, I'm in the operator station. I like the gauges. I mentioned that when I started the tractor. Got electric PTO, so that's right here. I will say it sits a little high, and when you're working on slopes and stuff, I kind of like to sit down in between the fender wells a little bit more. They got a cup holder back here. One thing that is huge when you're buying a compact tractor and you want to get the most out of a small horsepower tractor like this is, I think, 24.5 horsepower, is you want a 3-speed hydrostatic transmission. There's other types of transmissions out there. I would never have anything other than hydrostatic. But some tractors, I know John Deere in the 2 Series has a 2-speed transmission, hydrostatic transmission, and that really limits you. You can't get the torque out of the lower gear as you can with a 3-speed transmission. I've noticed that a lot with my Kubota. I don't use high that much. I can run it in the mid-range for most of the work, and occasionally when I need a lot of torque, I can put it in the low range, and it looks like TYM has taken that idea and incorporated it in this tractor. That's enough right there to sway me away from any other competitor that might only have a 2-speed transmission. We've got a single brake here, and Kubota went to a 2-brake system on the left side with their L3902, their latest model. So I would like to see 2 brakes because I like to spin around within the radius of the tractor, like when I'm doing tilling and doing road tilling. I like to spin around and come back just next to my other tire marks. So I would like to see that. It's like the steering wheel is adjustable. That's huge. Don't have that in the Kubota. And it has the standard 2-pedal system for the hydrostatic, where 1 pedal goes forward and 1 pedal goes backwards. I'm not a fan of that because I've been using the treadle pedal on Kubota for a long time, but just about everybody else does the 2-pedal system. So I understand why TYM did that. And then you have your hydraulic lift over here. There's no rear remotes on this tractor. I assume it's an option like it is with other manufacturers. Not really a lot to talk about here on the right side of the tractor. The hydraulic filter right there, easy to access. It looks like it has some bars on the bottom, which would tell me that it's probably ready for a backhoe. Now, I haven't operated this loader, but this handle seems a little short, and it also seems away from the steering wheel. I would think I would want that a little closer to the steering wheel and a little longer, but I haven't operated this tractor, so I can't say that that's uncomfortable, but that's my initial impression on walking up on it. When I was sitting in the seat, it was a very comfortable seat. It does not have armrest, or at least not stock in this model or this the one that's here for sale. I don't know if you can get it as an upgrade, but a lot of people like armrests on their seats, on their tractor. I don't. I just don't use them. And on tractors that I've used that have them, I just flip them up out of the way. So although the loader control may not be something that is perfect for me, I will say that this tractor has an incredible amount of lift capacity in the loader. This loader is advertised to lift 2,200 pounds, and that is just an incredible amount. My Kubota L3901 can lift 1,100 pounds at the pin. So essentially, this tractor can lift double what a Kubota can lift, at least the L series. And I'll put the numbers on the screen. I don't want to get them wrong and send somebody down a rabbit hole, but I also believe the 3-point hitch lift capacity is 3,200 pounds, which exceeds the competitors. So that fact alone is driving a lot of people to this tractor model. The fact that this tractor, compact tractor, large frame compact tractor, doesn't have the emissions that the larger engine tractors have and can lift 2,200 pounds, it makes it a game changer. And it really is a tractor that can do so many things at a good price point that doesn't require you to get a bigger tractor. I don't know what it would take in the Kubota line to get you to 2,200 pounds of lift, but I'm fairly certain the L4701 or 4702 can't do it. You might have to go up to the M5400 series, and that's important as far as the weight that it can lift, because you think about a bale of hay, If you get a wet bale of hay, my Kubota can't lift it, and this tractor can essentially lift 2 of those big round bales of hay, and that's just huge. That is a huge selling point. Back here at the back of the tractor, there's a lot of things that I like. I like this hook here for the top link. I like that. I like that the top link where you attach it on this end is easily accessible. It's not hidden back in the tractor. And I like that it has telescoping sway bar arms here on the side. But it does not have telescoping sway bar ends here, and the PTO cover, and this is what I really like about Kubota, is you can take that and kick it with your foot and it'll twist up out of the way, but this one is stationary. And I can tell it's stationary because it didn't move when I tried to move it, and also because of the way the bolt pattern is, it is not made to move. This right side adjustable on the 3-point lift arms, that's good, but most tractors are adjustable over here with threads to make minute adjustments. And this one actually has pin adjustments, but you usually don't make major adjustments on one side unless you're doing a bottom plow or a furrow plow. So this will definitely work because you don't adjust it that much, but I would like to see both of these be adjustable. And the last thing I see back here is your hydraulic fill is right there where that yellow cap is. That's a little hard to get to. You'd have to have a long neck funnel. You can remove this if you're not, say, going on a public road or anything, but with this wide tray right here, that looks like you would put a 6-pin trailer plug there. But with this wide tray, you're gonna have reduced visibility back here to your 3-point hitch area. So I'd like that to be cleaner, and maybe these ROPs maybe out a little bit more so you can look over your shoulder and see what you're disking or brush hogging. But those are all things that I wouldn't be able to tell definitively unless I was actually using this tractor out on the farm. All right, so that's about as good a review as I can do with this tractor without actually working it. And I can say from what I see and what I see on Tony's channel and Hank's channel, these are good tractors. I think all tractors are good tractors. I don't think really there's junk out there, and I think they will all last. But as I compare this to a top tier tractor, a Kubota L Series, I see a lot of similarities, and I know the retail on this tractor is a lot less. I'll throw up the numbers here on the screen. I want to make sure I get them right. There is definitely a price difference between this and the 2501 or 2502, which would be the comparable Kubota model. But I'll say right now, looking at this tractor, if it had more horsepower, like 40 horsepower or so, this tractor would be a contender for our next tractor out on Piney Grove. Now the surprise, or the thing that I told you that I would tell you about at the end of the video, is TYM actually made 4 prototype tractors of the 2515 with a cab model with air conditioning and heat. And they've been out there with select dealers across the nation just to see how they perform. And I heard they're performing really well, but they're just in the prototype stage, and soon they will make a decision on whether to market it or not. Now, the big drawback of that will be, if you've got to run an air conditioner, will you have enough power to operate your tractor, you know, pull your disc harrow, to run your PTO equipment? Because an air conditioner, especially if it's a compressor run by the engine as opposed to an electrical compressor maybe run by a bigger alternator, but either one are going to put a drag on the engine that an open station tractor doesn't have. So TYM is going to make a decision real soon on whether or not to market that tractor. So this is your chance. If you think that, hey, I'm in the market for this tractor, but I would like it to have a cab, I would let your dealer know to get your input up to corporate TYM headquarters and let them know that there's a demand out there for that tractor. But like I said at the beginning, I'm not sponsored by TYM, but I am impressed after looking at it, and I can't wait until I can get a hold of one, and no kidding, compare it in the field to a tractor I'm used to, like the Kubota L3901. But that's going to wrap up today's video, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Until next time, remember, life's short, tractor hard. One thing I forgot to mention as I put this tractor back the way it was is that you can get off this tractor without having to put it in neutral and not having to lock the parking brake. And I get on and off my tractor a lot, and the tractor brands that require you to do that really frustrate me, because I feel like I'm an adult and I know when it's safe to get off a tractor, and I shouldn't have to go through 4 or 5 motions to get off the tractor. This is an adult piece of equipment. It's not a toy. And if you buy something like this, you should have the liability that you're going to be safe on it. And folks, that there is the end of the video. Catch you on the next one.